Welcome to the Choose to Change 90-Day Re-Entry Program. If you're a visitor or new to this program, we welcome you and we are glad you are here. Many of us walked into these rooms not sure of what to expect, but many of us stayed because we saw real people with real problems who had real hope. This 90-Day Re-Entry Program is a self-supporting Christian group. There are no dues or fees to attend a class, but we do encourage donations from our members and anyone who believes in what we are doing. The only requirement for change is a sincere desire to change. The only requirement for membership is a sincere desire to change. So if you already changed your life, then you're in the right place. Through this program, you will learn the tools and resources to finally change your life forever and a relationship-based support system to keep you going. For many of us, there's no easy way out of the mess we created in our lives, even if it wasn't your fault. But the good news is there is a way out if you choose to believe in the impossible. All right. Gentlemen, my name is Frank Salazar. I've been a member of the Choose to Change Foundation since June 11, 2015, and I will go give an overview of how that happened. But it is an honor to be here. I will be your speaker for tonight. Orlando is doing God's will right now. He's at a conference, and he asked me to just share a little bit more of my testimony and talk about things that are going on in my life. And I thanked him because this is the second chance that I wanted. So it's good to be back. It's good to be behind the little pulpit that we have. So I want to start off with a little story. Mr. Salazar, please step to the bench. I was 13 years old, and I was in court. It was the first time I was in court. And the judge says, Mr. Salazar, we have a full docket today, so I'm going to give you a second chance. Get out. And as I walked out of there, I didn't realize what a blessing that was. I haven't heard anything like that before. Maybe it's happened, I don't know. But I was 13 years old, and I was in there because the year before, actually the summer before, I had broken into what at that time was now my junior high. Before that, it wasn't my junior high. I hadn't gone there yet. But I had broken in with a group of friends who just showed up one day outside my house and said, hey, Frank, we're going to go break into the school, just for fun. And okay, count me in. And so I was 12. So we break in. They pushed me over the fence because I couldn't climb fences, so they pushed me in. And we're in there, we're like going through the portables, going through stuff. And then someone says like, hey, the cops are coming. So they take off. They pushed me in there, so I didn't have a way to get out. So I was stuck there. The cop shows up with a big police dog, and I ended up going to not the county, but to the FAR PD, and they did everything, fingerprints, took a photo, and so I ended up just not getting a pass, but I didn't go to jail or county. They sent me home, but I knew I was going to be going to court. So that was when I entered, I think it was junior high. I forget what grade it was, but that's when I got the letter saying, hey, it's time for your court. The lawyer had been meeting with me. And I'm like, all right, cool. And it didn't hit me how serious it was. Because I was telling my friends, yeah, I'm going to go to court tomorrow. Oh yeah, and it should be quick. I don't know. I thought I was going to go in and get out. I didn't know anything about court. I didn't know anything about the law except that I broke it. That's when the judge tells me, like, hey, we're gonna cut you loose, but behave yourself. And it's like, all right, cool. And afterwards, I started thinking about it, and I had also been praying. I thought, God, if I don't do time, I'll start serving you. I'll start going to church. I'll become a Christian. I didn't have the structure. I didn't know where to go. So I started doing it on my own. I was like, well, I'll read the Bible. And I've been reading the Bible. My dad had bought me a Bible years ago. It was like not a children's Bible, but like maybe a teen's Bible, and it had some illustrations. So I would read that, and like I would carry it everywhere. But I didn't have structure. I didn't have a process. So I just did it on my own, and I was taking shortcuts because I thought, well, this is okay to do. Oh, I can lie, or I can cheat, as long as I don't get caught. Yeah. So, so I skated by, and it wasn't until high school that's when I started really getting serious. Like, God, I really need answers. I need to know where to go, what to do. And it wasn't until my senior year where I started acting up in school, just getting in trouble with teachers. I had this one teacher that everyone always like did pranks on him, picked on him because he was very heavy set. Uh, so I decided, you know what, I'm gonna do a prank too. So I made a fake bomb out of a McDonald's McNuggets box and like just a little stopwatch, and I took it to school. Well, one of the kids got it, put it in front of the teacher, and he set it. He turned it on, and it started ticking, and he threw it in the trash. I'm like, oh man, I lost my bomb. That was the worst. That was the least of my problems. He reported me, and I was in the principal's office for taking a bomb to school. But I told him like it's not real. It's just a stopwatch. It's not gonna explode. So they just gave me a slap on the wrist. But I found out that one of these kids that turned me in, or the main one that turned me in, I found his name and he was in my class. So I went up to him like, "Hey man, Gunda, like, you turned me into the principal?" Like, "Yeah, man. You need Jesus Christ." And he starts witnessing to me. He starts telling me about Jesus. He starts telling me about church. He starts telling me that I can change my life. And this is what I was praying for. This is what I was asking God. I need direction. So he put this guy in front of me. And we started going to church. Well, first we had like little Bible studies during our lunch break, and he was telling me about the Bible. He was telling me about the fishers of men, all this stuff, and it was very fun to hang out with. We had similar interests. So finally, okay, I'll go to church, and I went to church. I got saved. I gave my life to Jesus. Like, okay, now what? And that's when I started having a little bit more structure. So I was 17. When I was 21, I was about to turn 21. That's when I started listening to the voices. Orlando talks about the voices in your life. In my case, it was, self-doubt or thinking, hey, I think I got saved too soon. I didn't really enjoy my life. And I also had some friends and family members telling me, like, man, that church, you don't have any fun there. Like, they're brainwashing you. Like, no, they're not. But I started believing that. So that was when I started drinking. But I was a social drinker, but I wasn't very social, so I didn't drink that much. But when I did, I drank a lot. And one day, some of my coworkers, and they're the ones that introduced me to alcohol and all this life, they're like, hey, you want to try pot? Okay. I'm smoking up. I'm getting high. And I'm buying them drinks and I'm buying them cigarettes with my money that I just got paid, so I'm spending it on them. Uh, and someone from church shows up uh, at where I was working because I went to go get some food after we were getting high, and I see them and they see me, and so I'm acting like I'm all cool, like, hey, what's up, man? Hey, I don't know, man. I'm just here hanging out, stoned, my eyes all red. They're there with their kids, and I knew like they know I'm high. They're gonna go report me or whatever. So you know what? I'm not going back. No one told me anything. I'm the one that was like judging myself, but because I didn't have, uh, the right morals or the right mindset, because I was listening to the voices of the world. Like, I didn't have a process, and the process I did have, I was just kind of cutting corners. Like I would just read a little bit here and there. I wasn't really fully into the church process. You know, I did my bare minimum. The only time I prayed was when I was praying for my food. Like, that was my prayer life back then. So I left. And years passed by, and around that time, that's when I started talking to this girl that I met at a different church I started going to, and we lost touch, and then got back in touch with her, and we ended up getting married, and she had also like had a misstep. She had gotten pregnant, uh, so you know to me that was no issue. Like this time I'm already older. I'm in my 20s, and that's when I became a dad. I ended up not physically but like spiritually adopting my son, and I'm still like very close to my son. So that's when I became a family man. I said, okay, I need to get this right. So I started going to her church, which was an LDS church, a Mormon church. And at first it was like, okay, I mean, I had already been to a Mormon church. I was already active in the Mormon church during the times I was just in and out trying to find the right church. The right church for me was the one where God put me in the first place. And I knew that. I was battling that. I was fighting with God, like, no, this is where I am now. But anyways, I tried to make it good in that church. Uh, Marriage wasn't that great. I won't go into details. There's a lot of problems on both sides, but uh, you know, now I had my oldest Riley, and I had my second born Matthew, and we had a third one on the way. And shortly after she was born, uh, my wife had made her choice that she was going to leave me. So she says, hey, why don't you visit your mom? At this time, I'm living in Corpus Christi. Why don't you visit your mom? You haven't been there in a while. Like, sure, okay. We'll all go, but first I'll drop you off. You spend a few days there, and then we'll come in. That way you have time alone with your mom. Like, okay, cool. Yeah, I didn't think anything of it. So I found out it was a trap or trick to get me out of the house without complaining. Uh, so when she left, I went to my bedroom and I saw the note there and like, oh, okay. And then I read it and she's like, it's over. We're done. Yeah. So for 3 years I was married, and 3 years it just went down the drain. And that's when I was hitting rock bottom. How Orlando says, I was hopeless. I still was fighting God though. I knew God had plans for me, but I was still fighting it. And I tried to do things in my own way. So like, okay, I'm going to start drinking. So I went to my prima's house, my cousin's house, and they were having a party, and they're all there. We're having barbecue. We're eating chicken and ribs and stuff, and they're all drinking beer. So you know what? I'm gonna start drinking too. So I get my tall boy, and I'm about to open it, and one of my cousins says like, "Oh, yeah, I didn't know you drink." Like, no, but I'm gonna start to. My other cousin takes the beer away from me and says, "No, you're not gonna, you're not gonna start drinking." Like, wow, I just want to get rid of this pain. That's no reason to drink, and they start drinking. Like, gee, wow, it's not even my family lets me drink. They're the ones that told me I was brainwashed in the first place. So I come home and I decide, you know what? I'm going to go back to one of the other places I used to go to a lot, and which was a mental institution. So I'm going to go check myself in. Maybe they can help me. So I get there. I get to tropical. What's called rehab. I forget the exact name. And I'm going through the process of filing paperwork, signing forms, and I have a meeting with them. And they start asking me like, okay, what's going on? I'm telling them all this stuff that's going on. And they said like, "Oh, sorry, sir, we don't have room for you." Like, what do you mean you don't have room for me? Like, there's no rooms right now, sir. Like, oh, I feel like a carpenter. There was no room at the inn. They're like, okay, where am I gonna go now? Well, there's like some counseling places, some support groups. Like, gee, well, I don't want a support group. So I go back home. A few weeks later, like, okay, well, what else can I do? Uh, so I started going back to the library. I would go to the library all the time when I was younger. I started going back just to kill some time, and I see that right across there's a curandera, a witch, and they have it all painted nicely. There's like the the Wizard of Oz witch mural painted on it. Like, oh, that's cool. Like, so what's this about? Like, and there's a sign. We do witch things here. I forget what the sign said exactly, but it was like this is a place. If you want answers, we can help you. Like, okay, I go in. I kid you not. It looked like a Home Depot. The lady witch, wearing a polo shirt, but not. She was at the computer. There's shelves of candles. Okay. Like, I used to know a curandera, so I had a feeling like how it usually is. So like, oh, so what do you do here? And she tells me very astonishingly, oh, this is a place uh, where for magical and mystical things happen. Like, oh, okay. I'm looking around. It doesn't look magical and mystical. She didn't even get up from her desk. Not even the witches wanted to help me. So at that point, I tried alcohol. I tried the mental institution. I tried witchcraft. None of them could help me. And I go back home. And I start crying to God. All right, God, what do you want me? I need you. Where do I go? That's when I hear, go home. I am home, God. I'm in my bedroom. Like, no, no. The church, the door. So that day was a Thursday. And in that moment, my mind switched to thinking, it's Wednesday. So I look up, I find the door, I find the address, It's Wednesday, so there's service on Wednesdays. I'm going to church. So for the next few hours, in my mind, it's Wednesday. I'm going to church. I'm going to get saved. I get a ride. They drop me off. I forget my phone. So I get off. They take off. I'm going to church. I'm going to church. I get to the door, closed, because it's Thursday. But in my mind, I'm thinking it's Wednesday. Gee, wow. Not even the church wants me? Come on. So I'm going to get my phone out, call, and I don't have my phone. I left it at home. So I wait around for a little bit, like, well, maybe I can find a phone or ask someone for help, or and someone pulls up and like, hey, you want to go to church? I'm like, oh yeah, but it's closed. Like, no, we have something going on Thursday. He's like, oh, okay. And the guy gets off. He looks familiar. He's a young fellow, and he starts telling me about the Choose to Change Foundation. And he asked me, hey, like, you look familiar. Have you been here before? Like, oh, I used to come to this church when I was 17. I left around when I was 20, 21. It's like, oh, okay, I think I remember you. I'm like, oh. So he starts telling me about the Choose to Change Foundation. And, oh, yeah, it's this ministry for ex-cons. Like, I'm not an ex-con yet. No. Thankfully, I never became an ex-con. But that's when I meet Orlando, and he starts challenging me. And he starts talking about the process, and you gotta have a why. What's your why factor? And he used to do this presentation where he would ask people, like, "Hey, you," like, and this time he chose me. He's like, "What's your name?" Frank. Like, Frank. All right, Frank. I'm gonna put this 2x4. This plank right here on the floor. I'm saying, for $10, would you walk it back and forth? Like, sure. Easy $10, right? There was no $10. So I'm still asking Orlando, I want my $10, Orlando. He said, okay, now we're going to take this plank and we're going to put it in the two highest buildings. From end to end, we walk it. And yeah, I'll walk it. I forgot to mention I was twisted. I thought I could do things like that. And Orlando said, like, Frank, you're too crazy. And he asked someone else, and I found out what the real answer was. Like, no, you're not supposed to say, yes, I can walk that. But he starts talking about your why and your purpose. And so imagine on this side of the building, it's on fire, and the one that you love is trapped. And you have to walk, save them, and go back. Now would you walk the plank? Yes. Once he said that, I started picturing my kids. I started thinking, this is what I need to do for my kids. I'm no longer doing it just for me because I want to feel good or it's the right thing to do. I need to think about my children. That was the day I started the process, where I started overcoming obstacles. So I used to weigh 280. When my wife left me, I was at 280. When I came to Choose to Change, it was a few months after that, 260 maybe. I did lose a lot of weight, but I lost it through depression. I just didn't want to eat. And then, okay, now I'm going to start taking care of myself. So little by little, I'm doing exercises. Orlando used to do this thing where he would challenge people to do push-ups. He would do like 60 push-ups. And one day, like, you know what? I'm going to do that. So I'm going to start doing some push-ups. But same thing as before, I was kind of doing it on my own, so I didn't really have someone telling me like, yeah, let's do this or let's do that or let's go here, let's go to the gym. I was like, oh, I'll just do it at home. Uh, but start doing what I could. It wasn't until just a few years later that another friend, she's telling me, and she's an older lady, and she like, hey, I'm gonna start going to the gym because I want to work on my legs. She was hit by two trucks, so she couldn't walk, but she's now been able to walk more. She says, "Do you want to come? I'm going to go to gym." So at that time, I did have a membership. I just never used it. So now I'm going to the gym minimum one times a week, maximum three times a week. So I went from 280 to 260 to 250 to 240. I was stuck there for 3 years at 240. I am now at 210. Been going to the gym on a regular basis, working out. Uh, Lost a ton of weight, so much that not even my belt fits me at times. I have to get a new belt. But that's the process that I was in. And that's just one of the many things. Orlando had challenged me a few years ago about becoming a better speaker. Because back then, I didn't like to talk. I would just look at the floor. I would just keep to myself. I would mumble. I would talk very low. And I asked Orlando once, hey, how do you become a leader without having a title? And that's when he told me, well, Frank, you should become a public speaker. I barely talk, Orlando. What do you mean a public speaker? And he told me about Toastmasters and how they teach you to be a better speaker. It's like, okay. All right. It's like, you know what? I'll pay for you for your first 6 months, Frank. Oh, okay. So now I felt obligated. Like, okay, I guess I'll go. And in my mind, I'm going to do my 6 months. That's it. That was 3 years ago. And I am now the division director for our area of Toastmasters International. I'm in charge of other clubs. I'm in charge of people. I'm in charge of putting on contests and training meetings. So Orlando was right. I did become a leader. Now I do have some titles, but Toastmasters helped. Orlando helped. The church helped a lot. There's a lot of my morals come from the people here in church. And there's just so much that you can do if you get in the process and you stay in the process and don't take shortcuts. So I'm going to take a short break to ask, are there any questions? Anything anyone wants to ask? Anything anyone wants to know before I continue? Let's see, what's the time? Okay, very good. No? Eddie? No? So, you know, so Eddie, for those of you on YouTube, we have a gentleman here of Eddie. I knew him when I was a little kid. We used to hang out. Our moms used to just talk and talk about garage sales and bingo and a bunch of other stuff. I don't remember. I would just play with Eddie. So Eddie, do you remember me back then? Do you remember how I was? Yeah. Was I outgoing or was I just like shy? Like
Everything, keep it to yourself, being a shy little kid.
so I was a shy little kid. And I carried that into adulthood. But now I'm more outgoing. Um, I, I love public speaking. Back then I didn't want to talk to anyone. Now I'll talk to everyone. So, I want to talk a little bit about building a foundation. So I did build my foundation with public speaking, with church, with Choose a Change, and just working on myself, adding on to it, building my own little structure, going to uh, the, these meetings every week, the Choose Change meetings, the Toastmasters meetings, going to the gym, maximum 3 times a week. So that's what I'm doing. That's what I'm building on. And in the Bible, there's scripture, Matthew 7:26, and you can read it on your own time. That's a good scripture, and it's about building on a firm foundation. So the Bible gives the example of a house being built on brick, a firm structure, and a house being built on sand, a not sturdy structure. It's gonna, as soon as the storms come, it's gonna fall down. Sometimes we tend to do that. If you're building a house and you cut corners, say, hey, this material is kind of expensive. I'm gonna go with the cheaper one, the discounted one. Well, sometimes there's a reason why it's discounted. I'm not going to worry so much about the wiring or so much about this. You can have a nice looking house, and it might last a month or two, maybe 6 months. But once the storms hit, once the rains come, that house is either going to fall down or it's going to need a lot of repair, where you're going to be spending 10 times the money to fix it when you could have done it right the first time. Sometimes we want to take corners. We want to take shortcuts. We don't want to pay the price. Like when I was coming to church when I was 17, but I still wanted to, I didn't still want to do it. I wanted to experience life, the fun life. I started drinking and going to church, smoking, going to church, and as long as they don't say anything, I'm good. Well, sooner or later that came crumbling down. But so what I'm saying is, don't take shortcuts, even if it seems hard. My friend here, Eduardo Chavria, and by the way, I say his full name. I try to say people's first names and full names, because a lot of people coming into this class in particular, you're coming from prison, most of you, right? Like you've had a prison life. So in there, what do they call you? Either your number or your last name. So I try to call you by your full name or your first name to help you with your mindset. If you're not thinking about, back in prison they used to call me this, they used to call me that. We used to call coffee guariche or guarache, or I don't know. What's the term? Guariche? Guariche. And like, oh no, it's coffee. So part of building your house and the process is changing your mindset. If you start thinking like you were back in prison, well, you might not go back to prison, but you might go back to your old lifestyle, thinking like, man, what a great time I had in prison. Like I had 3 meals a day, 3 ramens a week, So that's why I try to use people's names. So my friend Eduardo, he's been coming here for almost as long as I have. And there's times where I see him doing things that no one else is seeing that's helping him. So when he first came to Choose a Change, and everyone was scared of him because he has tattoos on his head. He was a little bit more bulky. He'll come in a lowrider truck, blasting his system, and he'll come in like he owned the place. And after a meeting, back then we used to set up tables and take them down. He sees people picking up tables, so no one asked him. He gets a table, starts taking it to the back. He started doing that little by little. Started helping out here and there. And he started changing his life. He got rid of his truck. No one told him, get rid of your truck. He said, you know what? I don't need to be driving a lowrider truck. And it was a nice truck. This little green truck. The steering wheel had chains on it. Like man, this guy was balling. And he's serving. And a few years later, he's not the most healthiest person, so he had a stroke out there in the parking lot while he's serving in parking lot. He has a stroke. He doesn't call anyone. He doesn't tell anyone, which I think he should have. But he kept on serving. After church, he went to the hospital. And came back, started serving again. Never complained. Never told anyone, hey, I just had a heart attack. I think I'm going to, not come to church, or I'm not going to serve as much, or, hey, do what you want. I'm out of here. No, he never did that. He kept on serving, and he's had more than one stroke since then. He's still here. Now, I think that is a sign, Eduardo. Get your health into check so you don't have to have all these strokes. But he's here. He's serving. So sometimes when I want to give up, like, man, no one's going to notice. And I think of Eduardo. Like, well, I mean, he did have like 3 strokes last week, so maybe I should go to church. So these are the people I kind of look at. So I talked about structure, finding a place where you can have that structure. Part of that is who you hang out with. So I hang out with Eduardo Chavarria. I also hang out with Hugo Lara, who's a graduate of this class, and now he's serving in church. Right now he's building props. And these are my 2 friends that I know that if I need anything, I know I can call them. No questions asked. I think it was last year in December, and I mentioned this the last time I spoke, but I was going through a lot of things. A lot of stuff was just going on and just piling and piling and piling that I started to crack. And, I started slowly drinking again. I was like, I'm only going to have 1 drink. Then I had 2. I'm not going to drink again. Well, a few days later, I had another drink. And I was just letting stuff just kind of get to me. Where I just had, I was done. I had it. I broke down. And I came to a Christmas concert that we had. And Hugo brought me. So I just started telling him everything. Just saying, this is going on, I did this, and I did this. I drank, and I got mad. And he's like, okay, well, let's go to the concert. After the concert was over, they had an altar call, and I said, you know what, I'm going to accept this altar call. And they usually will call in an altar worker. Well, the guy that they called on was Hugo. I had just broken down and confessed everything to him. So when we went up there, he said, let's just pray. He didn't tell me, oh, Frank, you messed up. Oh, why, Frank? You know better. Or tell me your problems. I just told him my problems in the car. And after that, man, this whole weight of feeling like a failure was lifted. And like, yeah, I can't let these things get to me. So there's going to be storms. You're going to get hit. But it's what you do after you get hit. Are you going to get up or are you going to lay down? I got up. And I'm not proud of it, but I got up. And that's part of life, part of the process. Don't think just because we're here, sometimes we have nice suits or, not in my case, but there's people with really nice hair, like nicely combed. Oh, they don't have problems. Like, no, we all have problems. It's not easy. But I didn't sign up for easy. As Orlando says, I signed up for possible. It's possible. And I thank God every day of what He took me out of. Back then, I was a bright little kid. I was shy. Started getting into trouble, but God was still there. Going back to when I went to court, and I didn't realize that one day I'll be in a class where it's primarily ex-cons telling my life story, because I thought, whoa, what do I have to tell them? But God is using me. Orlando has given me the opportunity to be here. And I thank God I didn't do time. And I said this to inmates. One of the things we do, we'll go into prisons. And there was a time we had classes inside the prisons. So I told them there, like just here, a little classroom, everyone is there in their white outfits. I told them, like, hey man, I almost got locked up. I'm glad I didn't, because I don't think I would survive here. I don't know, man. I might have well, I don't think I would live. I think I might have been off the first day. So I'm so glad that judge gave me that second chance. But sometimes we need third chances or fourth chances. But you know, God is the God of second chances. So I'm glad I'm here, and I'm glad I'm able to speak to you. And I'm letting you know, stay in the process. Even when the process seems crazy, like this is not going to work, stay in the process. And if you need to talk, we're here. You know, some of us know what you're going through. Right. So any questions, comments, concerns? All right. Eduardo, do you have a story from your prison time? Anything you want to share? Was good? How good for you?
That radio, everything was good though.
The ramen was good. It was top ramen. And we're going to the top, so that's good. But yes, that was a little bit of my story. And right now, just to catch up, my sons will be here. My two sons will be here in June. And the last time, when they were going to be here in June, my eldest son, he was hit by a truck, so he couldn't come. And thankfully, he survived. But this time, he's going to be here. He's telling me he wants to hang out. I told him, okay, but when we're here, we're not just going to be at the house being lazy. We're going to work out. My son liked that because he's in football, so he's already getting big. My other son is like, okay, I guess I'll work out. He's more like me. He doesn't like the pain. He doesn't like the process, but I'm trying to help him with it. So one day he doesn't have to go through what I went through. And that's why I do this. Every time that I'm down and I want to do something stupid, and this time I did do something stupid this last time, but now it's really ingrained in my head. Like I can't. Like I'm done playing games. Like I have two strong, healthy young boys looking up to me. And there's also people here in church that sometimes they'll come and tell me like, "Hey Frank, I just want to say you're doing a good job. I'm glad you're here." Because you don't know who's watching. You don't know who is using you as an example. You don't know who's using you as a bad example. So do your best. Stay in the process. Keep coming. Stay faithful. And one day you'll see your top. All right. We will now be passing the offering bucket. Eduardo Chavarria will pass that around. And if you like a copy of the Choose to Change book written by Orlando Salinas, Dead Man Walking, it is $10. If if you donate $10 in the basket or just pay it afterwards, you will get a copy of the book. And we also have T-shirts. I'm not sure the prices, but I think the regular T-shirt is $10 and the polo shirt is $20. And if I'm wrong, Orlando will correct me. So if you want to support the Choose to Change Foundation, you can do it in those ways. And there's also the, we still have the, there it is, the donatectc.com. So with that, if there's no questions, Choose to Change, dismissed.